Last week we had a chance to play on the first ever underwater map for Overwatch, Talantis, a temporary and rough build map that was made with the help of the community, but we might get an actual map set in the ocean one day, and that map could actually be partly underwater. Let me explain. Hey guys, I'm James from the Omnic Post. If you have been playing Overwatch in the last 7 days, you might have noticed a new mode in the arcade, Talantis. It is a control map set in an underwater Talon base, built on the ruins of the mythical city Atlantis. If you played it, you might have noticed that it was kind of rough. A very bare bones map. Kind of the map that I used to play back in the Unreal Tournament days. Yeah, I'm that old. The reason for that is that it originated from a fun community event. A few months ago, Aaron Keller, the game director for Overwatch, and Dion Rogers, the art director, did a Twitch stream in which that they built this map. Now they made it based on the feedback of Twitch chat by using a system of polls. And lo and behold, the first underwater map for Overwatch. Kudos to Team 4 for cleaning up this map that was made in 2 hours and actually putting it live, albeit for just 1 week. And we won't see it return, that is something they confirmed. In case you missed it, I'm terribly sorry, but that's why you need to follow me. I talk about stuff like that. You'll always be up to date. Anyways, I don't think it's a coincidence that this ended up being an underwater map. A part of the community has been asking for an underwater map since day one. I just didn't realize that I was the bigger part of the community, but Blizzard probably did know. And I think they might have known that this one was coming, that was going to be the end result of that stream. I'll do you one even better. I'm convinced that they're working on a proper underwater map right now. At least partly underwater. I discussed this briefly when I was trying to predict the map for Season 2, which feels like it was ages ago. See, Blizzard has always hinted at new maps by adding Easter eggs to the existing maps, or to the lore. Havana, for instance, was hinted at by a poster at Numbani Airport. I mean, the poster is still there, but it was added before Havana was released. And I love when they do stuff like that. It makes the world feel so real and connected. The thing is, not every location that they hint at is actually going to end up being a map. Some of the locations are just places where they used to have offices, like Versailles for instance, or Los Angeles. Sometimes it's places where heroes live, or even staff members on Team 4. But then occasionally you'll see that one name that sticks out, that you can't really connect to a hero, or even a real place in the world. And those are the ones that you need to keep an eye out for. Since the Overwatch beta, there has been one name floating around, Atlantic Arcology. It first showed up on the train signs at Midtown, aka New York. And during the beta, it wasn't called Atlantic Arcology, it was called Pan-Atlantic Arc, ... The weird thing is that it isn't mentioned as an actual location, but as a remark on the Malivento and the Rome train, which are both Italian cities. But there is actually a train station at Atlantic Arcology, because the next time it popped up was on the Esperanza map, set in Portugal. And there are these kiosks that advertise the hypertrain. And on those kiosks you see the destination Atlantic Arcology. A train ride of about 90 minutes, something I'm going to come back to in a minute. Later, with the rework of Numbani, a flight to the Arcology also showed up in Numbani Airport. That flight, however, is cancelled. Another issue. And the flight code that is mentioned next to it is kind of unusual. It's very different from the others. It has the letter in a weird position. And by the way, that ES, that is an actual airline code, but it is for DHL Europe, apparently. I didn't know that. I had to Google it. The more you know. Now, the fact that Atlantic Arcology is on this list in the airport tells us that there is also an airport in Atlantic Arcology. So it is safe to state that there's also a part of the Arcology that is above the water. Otherwise, it gets kind of tricky to land your plane. I'm not a pilot, but yeah, I don't think that works really well underwater. But that doesn't mean that everything is above water. I think most of it might actually be underwater. Why? Well, for one, it has been on the minds for the community for a really long time. It could be a nice fan service. Second, even if we had not been asking for an underwater map, if you are setting a map in the midst of the ocean and you don't have a whole section on the water, you're missing an opportunity. It's like going to the movies just for the popcorn. You're not watching the movie, I just want the popcorn. Let me pay 10 bucks. Well, but now it's 12, 15. And I'm pretty sure people do that. There's actually people that go to the movies just to eat the popcorn. And third, remember that hyperrail. There's still a lot of info to get from that kiosk. It tells us that the Arcology is only 90 minutes away from Esperanza, which is kinda Lisbon, isn't it? New York is 10 hours. You can draw a line from New York to Rome and basically cross through Lisbon. So it makes sense that that is actually one whole line, that it is one track. And let's say that train runs at speeds of about 500 kilometers an hour. I don't know what it is in miles, but it is fast. And I'm basing that on the timetable and the distance between New York and Lisbon, which is about 5,400 kilometers. I'm also taking into account the little time you need to kind of ramp up the speed and to slow it down. I've rode trains before. I'm an expert. No, I'm not. Taking into account all that information, my guess is that the Atlantic Arcology is 700 kilometers away from the Portugal coast in the ocean, on what they call the Iberian Plain. I also think it is safe to presume that the train stays on the ocean floor throughout the whole journey between Lisbon and New York. But those Iberian plains I was talking about earlier, those are pretty deep. They're about 4,000 to 6,000 meters deep. That's like 13,000 to 19,000 feet. So yeah, I think you need swimming trunks when you want to visit the Atlantic Arcology. But what is it? What is the Atlantic Arcology? Well, according to the dictionary, an arcology is a mix between the words architecture and ecology. It is architectural design for very densely populated cities or habitats with a low ecological impact. It is very theoretical, but it is a vertical structure that tries to have a minimal impact when it comes to the surroundings. So on land, that would be a huge vertical tower, 5 kilometers high. But in the ocean, that could actually be a very deep structure, 5 kilometers deep, all the way to the ocean floor. But still enough above water to have an airport and a few bars. Because, you know, we all kind of enjoy our drink in the sunlight during summer, don't we? Sure, but why am I talking as if this is coming very soon? Well, if those signs that I just named aren't enough for you just yet, let me point to Lifeweaver. That's right, our new support hero, part of the Overwatch No Shoe Club, and pretty big on planting alien trees in the midst of battle. After Vishka Industries tried to take away his BioLite technology, he actually went in exile in, yeah, you guessed it, the Atlantic Arcology. And on the website in his bio, it is described as a freestanding and self-sustaining scientific and ecological city in the Atlantic Ocean, free from the governing laws and any nation on the planet. And basically it is some type of pirate bay, but for scientists. And I'm thinking there's a huge population of Omnics. Why? Well, I don't see any humans building a structure that is 5 kilometers high under the ocean. We tend to need oxygen, they don't. On the other hand, they're not too fond of water, I think. But second and more importantly, because Zenyatta has a voice line in which he states that he was born in the ocean.
I like being near the ocean. It reminds me of where I was born.
Unless he kind of came out of the back hole of a whale, he might have been born in the Arcology. But how is that possible? Well, what if there was an Omnium at the Arcology? In case you're not familiar with the Omniums, they are basically the factories that build all of the Omnics. Now, most of them have been shut down by the UN. But the Arcology is not part of the UN. See where I'm going with this? Huh? You're not? Okay. Well, since they're not part of the UN, I think they still have an Omnium that is working. Now, I don't think that the Omnics at the Arcology are tied in with Null Sector, but Ramatra and his buddies, they do know that there's going to be an Omnium. If there's an Omnium, they're going to know about it. And we know what he wants, what his goals are. He wants to keep his people alive. And what is the best way to keep him alive is, well, take over the baby factory. So I think they're up to something. They're wreaking havoc in the Atlantic Arcology. Again, explaining why the flights are cancelled and the trains are stuck. A whole storyline that we might see unfold in PvE. Yeah, I said it, the magical word, PvE. Which we don't know anything about just yet. But could this be a map that we see launched with the first campaign of PvE? Because I wouldn't expect to see it in Season 5. I think that might be a little too soon. Maybe. Yeah, at this point, anything's possible. Who knows? Well, Blizzard knows. Everybody at Blizzard knows. Even the lady at the cafeteria that makes the sandwiches. She knows. We don't. We just have to wait till mid-May. What do you think? Are we getting the Atlantic Arcology map? And what is happening there? Do you think they found Nemo? Let me know in the comments. Join me during my streams on twitch.tv/DamesTV and make sure to subscribe for more updates on Overwatch.